but let's go through.
Yeah, we'll call the school committee meeting to order, and I'll call the school building committee meeting to order. Please stand for pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the
The
flag
flag of the United States
States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice
for
for
all.
all.
Very quiet. Agenda adjustment for full committee. There is an agenda adjustment for school committee tonight. We were not voting on the regional agreement amendments tonight. Also, this meeting is being recorded because we have remote participation. All votes will be done by roll call. Mr. Hayward. There are no agenda adjustments for the school building committee tonight. This meeting is being recorded. Because we have remote participation, all of our votes will be done by roll call. Are there any comments from the public tonight? Hearing none, we'll go right on to approve the minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the July 23rd, 2025 school building committee meeting. So moved. Whitman and Sedgwick. Any discussion on the minutes? I'll take the roll call. Paul Hayward, yes. Tom Hickey,
Yes.
Sandy Baldwin,
Yes.
George Cooney. Actually, always in the sky. George, you there? He's muted.
Yep,
Okay. Jim Coughlin,
Yes.
Bob Mahoney. Yes. Jack Manning. Yes. Bob Mello, we haven't seen yet?
No.
Okay. Joe Zambello.
Yes.
Tom Petroselli.
Yes,
Austin Reed. Yes. Dan Sallucci. Yes. Keith Boyle.
Yes.
Frank Mull.
yes,
Motion carries. Kevin, it's all yours. Thank you.
There was the up down.
Up is down. All right, I got you.
Okay, yeah, we can just, let's go back to the first one. All right, well, thank you for having us. We'll try and work through this and happy to answer any questions. I believe the first item were, I guess we'll start with invoices, Tom, unless you think we should skip ahead to approval of the minutes.
Oh, we just
did, yeah, just want to be sure, great. All right, so the first item is the invoices for this past month. As you want to let everyone know, we handed out hard copies, you know that. The budget component of this presentation has been really hard to read. So if you just go back one, invoice for left field, $87,084, you can see to the right, a number of meetings and presentations that took place during the past month. Again, happy to answer questions on left field. Otherwise, we'll move forward with DRA.
Yeah, just real quick.
Yes.
Mr. Chair. So in the lower left corner, just to orient folks, those are the various phases of our building project and we're not under contract status, which is also on the hard copy that folks have. So you'll notice the first line says feasibility study, the second line says design development, and when you look over at the balance, there are zero, which means we finished those phases. So as we go through and see these updates periodically, whether it's left field or DRA, we can watch those phases draw down as we move through the process. So we're in the construction documents phase.
That's correct.
So that'll be the next. So the other lines below construction documents, until we maybe do some bid stuff, that's gonna be the next line of activity we'll be watching.
Correct, we're gonna be in the construction documents phase until late winter, early spring.
Got it, thank you.
So, and then, I'll go through all of those line items, not only for us as the OPM, but DRA in Suffolk. Once we get through all of them, but I think that's some really good context, just so folks can kind of follow along. And then if we move on to DRAs. Yep, so DRA invoice number 22 for the previous month. $863,225, I believe on the next page, there is should be some narrative that explains some of their efforts, during the previous month. I just wanna, not to speak for Kyle, but I just wanna point out that obviously that's a sizable number, and it does tie to, Tom had referenced, specific amount within the construction documents phase. I believe they broke it up into about 10 months, because that's the effort. The full amount for that phase, it's a really big one, because there's a lot of effort that goes in from the design team and their sub-consultants. They basically take the full fee that is assigned with construction documents, it's around, I think it's 8.6 million. And they're gonna be billing during the 10 months, they just bill it equally, so that's what you'll see likely throughout the phase. And again, you see a big number, 863,000 roughly. Without getting into too much detail, because I want to reserve that for Carl. I think you should know that, you know, maybe the majority, at least 50% of that is going to 10 to 20 of their sub-consultants that they pay on a monthly basis. And after we go through the invoices, I just kind of want to bring up a reference document that shows how many sub-consultants. It's not one or two, it's north of 10. And that's where I believe the bulk of their fee goes every month. Yes.
Okay, for a second. So if you're actually just taking the 8,600,000 and dividing it. How do you know? Yeah,
I just quantify their efforts.
Yeah, how do you know where you're at? Really?
Yeah, they have deliverables, you know, they have deliverables to stay on the schedule with the MSBA. And, you know, I'd say based on the number of meetings we have and the conversations we have in the work product, you know, if we feel like they show up to a meeting and something that should be done at that milestone isn't, or all of a sudden, you know, it looks like we're falling behind schedule, then.
But the bills may not equal actually the effort,
There may be.
because you just divide it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah, there may be times where, right before a big deadline, there's more effort and you're not being charged more, and there may be time where, you know, on a slower month, you know, the effort isn't as significant as right before an MSP deadline. I think that's a fair way to say it. I will say, you know, we don't take it lightly how big these numbers are. This is not unique to this project. Every MSBA project, you'll see an architecture fee for usually about 10%. And on this case, it just happens to be a very big construction number. And so in this case, DRA was under 10%, close to 9.7, 9.8%. So again, we know these numbers are very large, but it's not unique, and it's actually lower than what we see on a lot of MSBA projects to be honest.
So out of his total bid, the DRA's total bid, what do they have remaining?
Yeah, so, yeah, let's take a look at this, that's a good question. You don't mind? Yeah, so this is
Back to the previous slide.
Right, well, back to the previous one, I was looking at.
let's go to the budget, because that shows the wall on one side.
Right, yeah.
Rough one. So this is DRA's fee for the whole project, it's you know, roughly 19.7,
Yeah,
okay? So they had just finished design development, their fee for that whole phase was a little over $5 million. They finished that, they built those, yep, so now when we're in construction documents, the fee is 8.6 million. And that's gonna happen over the next 10 months, which is, you know, kind of in line with, breaking up that 8.6 million, into about 10 payments or so. So they're just starting that fee, they're just starting that phase, so next month you'll see, they've spent 863 of the 8.6 million, and the difference would be what's remaining.
okay, so the only thing that's concerning me is this other basic services blank.
What specifically?
Yeah, like those, like if there's a mistake, or I think they have to come back out and redo something, or do things over because it doesn't match up according to the site plan, that doesn't.
Sure, yeah, I mean, there's definitely some there's some money in the contingencies
Okay.
that we
Well, that's what I was.
don't plan on using, but there's an
Okay.
contingency that would
All right,
account
so
for.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
looking at there, that's all.
And I just, I had spoke with Carl, over the past couple of weeks, because we're trying to provide as much information for you all, because, how significant these invoices are, I want everyone to have the opportunity to ask these types of
So I
questions.
just don't do this every day, so
No.
these numbers are like,
No, it's your job, so totally appreciate that. One thing that him and I discussed was the possibility not to create more meetings. Or more work for anyone, but if this group wants to have like an invoice, subcommittee of this group, we're open to that. We usually meet, as part of the school building committee on the second or third Wednesday. The invoices are usually in by the first of the month. If we wanna meet on the fifth or no later than the 10th of every month, we could jump on a Zoom and we could just, we could meet with you all just to take more time and have you feel better about, all the invoices before they come to this approval. So I'll let you think about that and, I can send out an email following this and I'll ask for volunteers. I don't think we need everyone, but if 2 or 3 of you wanna jump on a Zoom for a half an hour once a month at your convenience, we'll make it happen. And it'll give you the opportunity to really, to ask questions and again, feel better about what's being presented to this committee.
well, I'm just glad Jim's not asking questions.
Mr. Chair, less than a quorum of the building committee could gather without the need for posting or votes or anything. It could be just, it's an informal, slow walk through the documents that will end up being in front of the SBC later in the month. And
Is there anybody on the committee that is interested in being in that subcommittee?
Yeah,
Okay, why don't you two gentlemen, let's take care of that. Kevin, you can
Okay,
get.
we'll schedule it, around you guys and we'll make it happen.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay?
Okay, thank you.
No, thank you. All right, now, moving on to Suffolk's, invoice number 7, 19,202, and similar to, left field from DRA. There's a specific amount for this phase, and they've simply divided it amongst, the duration. Okay.
Any questions on the invoices, gentlemen?
I mean,
Not anything, okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve those invoices then.
Make a motion.
Justin, second by Rocky, thank you. Any discussion on the invoices? I'll call the roll, Bob Hayward, yes. Don Hickey,
yes.
Sandy Baldwin.
Yes.
Oh, okay, Sandy. George Cooney,
Yes,
okay, Jim Boston.
Yes.
Well,
George Cooney, yes.
okay. Jack Manning? Yes. Well, no, it's not on yet, okay. George Campbell?
Yeah.
Kelly,
Yes.
Dustin Redden,
Yes.
Dan Salvucci. Yes. Keith Boyle
Yes.
and Frank Mull.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Kevin, other project update.
Yeah, budget update, similar to what we've discussed, we remain on budget and continue to build through, we're now in construction documents, so it'll be, I'd say for the next 6 to 9 months, you'll see very similar invoices to what you see tonight as we work through construction documents, getting ready to go out to bid. No major surprises, no ad or anything like that related to the budget, so again, we remain on track.
You don't have any questions for Kevin?
And just wanna double check, it is helpful to have that budget printed out, but something we'll just do moving forward.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Yep, in terms of a general schedule update. No changes to the schedule, as mentioned, we're working through the CD's construction documents phase. The major construction packages will go out for bid in, the late spring. There are some, we've talked about doing some early bid packages, related to site preparation, utilities. And the first one is, because this building has a significant amount of precast exterior. Again, not my specialty, but typically that trade, because it's so unique. We bring them on as part of the design process. And so it's called a design assist. And that's something we're gonna be pre-qualifying pretty soon. You know, we're gonna start talking about pre-qualification to make sure we have, you know, companies that have done this and that they have a good track record in the Commonwealth. We're gonna start that process in October and again, not something we have to decide on tonight, but just wanna put it out there to the group, is that typically it's someone from the OPM, someone from the design firm, typically someone from the CM firm, and then usually about 2 people from the owner's side. So the first pre-qualification step is just gonna be one trade, this precast design assist. And then there'll be a second smaller, another package for, you know, site contractors and some underground utilities. Again, those aren't a big lift, and then there'll be a much bigger pre-qualification for the rest of the trades. In the winter, in the early spring. So I just want this group to start thinking about, if you're someone who's interested in doing some reading and figuring out, hey Carl, and figuring out, you know, or making sure that we have the best, we have good competition, but we also have the best subcontractors, files and contractors bidding on this project. Think about it, let me know, and we can be part of this process, either as a voting member or a non-voting member. We want as much participation as possible.
Okay.
Carl, we were just talking about the precast pre-qualification process, so maybe if there's questions you can answer.
Sure.
In terms of other project updates, we were in front of the town last month. And if you wanna just give them a brief update on what's been submitted and kind of those next steps.
Okay. Yeah, the permitting process is well underway in the sense that, the first 2 that we've submitted, or will be submitting. First one, that went in last week was the Conservation Commission, so-called notice of intent. That puts us, on track to have the first public meeting, with them next week. That's all about the wetlands and how our, you know, scope of work impacts wetlands either directly or in the buffer areas. So that package is gone, and then kind of along with that is with the planning board site plan review. It's a little bit of a gray area in Massachusetts for school projects, so-called site plan review. It's generally people, developers and or homeowners meet with planning boards to get variances or get a special permit. Technically, we're not seeking either of those, but school projects in Massachusetts get reviewed under the so-called Dover Amendment, where there's kind of a special allowance for schools and churches in regards to zoning requirements. So we'll be meeting with the planning board next. That I think you might have signed the application today on that, Don.
I did.
So our civil engineer is submitting that tomorrow in that regard. And then the third permit that is sort of started on a preliminary basis is with DEP, Department of Environmental Protection, about the wastewater treatment and the septic fields. We've had a preliminary submission to them. That's kind of the first required step before we make an official technical submission.
And when does DEP come into that, Carl?
They have to react to our preliminary, Bob, before that. We've done some test pits on site. We have to get them to officially witness the test pits. The hope is that happens within the next 2 weeks. But we don't have an official date with them yet. They have to respond. We've made a request. I think I might have mentioned this last month about DEP regulations. Again, are somewhat outdated, you know, with modern plumbing fixtures and the amount of water that facilities use nowadays is significantly less than what, you know, their regulations require. And so using actual water meter readings rather for the last couple of years for this school and actually for other vocational schools too. You know, DEP says the standard is, I think it's 20 gallons per day per person. It is the usage. The actual usage is more like less than 5 gallons per day per person. And even figuring in 100% factor of safety, if we were to double that, we're still well below the threshold. So we've asked for some relief in that regard. So that would allow us to downsize the wastewater treatment plant, save some money, and downsize the septic fields too. And save both space and money there too. So we're waiting for their reaction to that. But that's been submitted.
What date and time for the conservation committee?
It's next Wednesday, is it the 24th, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do that virtually, I've seen it done different, in person and virtually.
And I'm not sure about that, I'd have to check as to
I
whether,
don't know what time they said.
but that's a meeting.
They've
too.
been in person.
They're in person, okay, as soon as we know, we can email it.
Yeah.
If someone wants.
I
Because
should
I'd like to attend that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
You should mention that,
Yeah.
What? That you're gonna go? Yeah.
the Conservation Commission is a public hearing. That's where they officially send out postcards to everybody who lives within, I forget, 300 feet or something of the property.
Yeah,
That there's going to be a hearing, so some folks may show up.
is that an evening one, Carl?
It is an evening, yes, yes.
Usually some.
It's 6 p.m.
Okay,
Thanks.
Yes, per the town of Hanover's website, and we are on the agenda, so go on.
Alright, okay.
Good job. Thanks, Dustin.
Right. And kind of in parallel with that, once we have some updates for the abutters, we're working on scheduling follow-up. With the neighbors, to let them know. Yep.
Does he know we do best practices? You know?
Yes, for stormwater management.
No, but they usually use with planning and zoning, usually all they do is they just do the same, like a pony show once instead of have to go back and cut start time.
Well, what they're gonna do, I believe on the project this size, the stormwater calculations are like a little phone book almost, the data. They send it out to an engineer, an independent third-party engineering firm to review those calculations. So I think it's a little complicated for them, the DPW or the engineers in-house at Hanover to do it. And
We used to do as best practices, it was, we just had zoning and planning to the same thing, and then they asked their questions, we asked ours, and that was all done in one night.
in that regard, planning is gonna share the stormwater, review with Conservation Commission.
Okay.
That kind of stuff,
That's
yeah.
That's
So we're not duplicating those reviews, that's exactly right.
Rockland also has the quickest town meetings in the town, the same spirit there.
That's good.
Efficiency.
That much to do with it.
And if you want a fire station, you just gotta go at it.
Bringing it back. Okay, I think that's really it. Any other project updates you wanna mention?
Well, the other scheduled piece that we're working on next milestone, I guess you mentioned the precast.
Yes.
Design assist. That's a little bit of wrinkle on sort of the standard way of procuring construction services and, but now that we have a construction manager on board. A little different than design, bid, build. We don't have to design the project to 100% complete and then go out, and seek the lowest, eligible, responsible bidder. And so one of the things that we like to do with the precast, which is such an important part of the envelope of the building, is to get a vendor on board early. And help actually not just build the project, but help us design some of the details of how their product is connected to foundations, how their product is connected to steel, which are, other disciplines. So before we finalize those parts of the project, the concrete foundations, the steel frame of the building, we want to get that input. And so we can do that in a competitive way. We don't have to just go out, and grab some precast off the street. We can put out a package for competitive proposals where they propose both with a fee, lump sum fee for the design portion of their services and also a lump sum fee for the procurement, the construction of the precast too. So we have to advance that work. That's one of the areas that's getting a lot of attention right now in our team. Advance that work so that we can get lump sum bids on the precast panels on the project. And we hope to issue that roughly a month from now, middle of October.
I think that's it for projects and schedule updates.
Anyone else have any further questions of Kyle or Kevin?
Yeah, I do. When we finally go out to bid. When we're ready to build it, go out to bid. I know we're supposed to accept the lowest qualified bidder. I asked to make sure, and we're probably gonna do it anyway, that they send. A list of recommendations that they've done in other towns, because. A lot of times they'll say one thing, in town they'll say another.
There's a
I
whole
dealt-
process, yes, yeah,
I've dealt with two big building projects in my town.
yeah.
And one I think of, I'm not gonna mention it, that I failed them. Really loud. Oh,
There's
yeah,
sort of two levels of qualification in Massachusetts, you might say. The state, through the DCAM, their state construction agency, maintains an inventory of both general contractors and subcontractors who are qualified in certain disciplines, plumbers, heating contractors, carpenter, plumbers, electricians, those sorts of trades. That's kind of a base level, and they assign them, kind of the upper limit of, dollar value of projects they can build. It might be 5 million, it might be 10 million, and so on. That's the first level of qualification, but then. Every jurisdiction, like this district, when it's doing a project, can go beyond and pre-qualify bidders in each of those categories too, before we even put the plans out to bid. That may be what,
Yeah.
I came in late, we were just talking about the pre-qualification process.
no, I mean, we had a project where. They were bringing in soil, tractor trailing on the trucks. Dumping it ready to do the parking lot. And the state police came, they didn't pay their taxes, so they compensated the trucks after they dumped the soil.
At least I waited for them to dump it.
Right? I mean, stuff like that.
Part of the
We
pre-qualification.
have the advantage too with Suffolk Construction, who has a great inventory of subcontractors too. They do this for all their projects, I'm sure, you know, qualify them. And so, but if you have, personal experiences or good or bad, that can weigh in on these.
Yeah.
Qualification process too.
And it's just a matter of making sure what they're saying is true.
Yeah.
And the fact that they can prove it.
I don't recall the references.
Yeah, we
embodied this whole group here to be part of that pre-qual.
Yeah,
And we end up making hundreds, if not more, phone calls for reference checks, just to make sure that
Yeah.
someone
done that.
doesn't have good experience, that they didn't just give us their friend's number that we called, all of their projects over the past 5 to 10 years to make sure that they're qualified and they'll do a good job.
Good.
Sure. Anything else?
Talk about that possible on Main Street, Peter, would that be part of the conservation, presentation that night?
I think it is because it's covering wetlands, so it would contemplate all of the whole,
Great.
yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else? Seeing there's nothing else, we'll take a motion to adjourn the school building committee. Motion. Rockland, second by
Second,
Whitman. Paul Hayward, yes, Tom Hickey,
Yes.
Sandy, Paul,
yes.
George Cooney,
Yes.
Jim Coffin,
Yes.
Bob Mahoney,
Yes.
Jack Manning,
Yes.
Joe Zambell,
Yes.
Tom Petroselli,
Yes.
Dustin Reardon,
Yes.
Dan Salvucci,
Yes.
Pete Boyle,
Yes.
and Frank Nola.
Yes.
We now adjourn.
Is everybody's here, ready to go? Go over it again. He's chomping at the bit to start.
There we go.
Okay, public comment. Are there any comments tonight from the public for the school committee? Seeing none, we'll move on to our student advisory. Next, we will hear from student representative Lou McCann. Lou is a senior from Abington, who is in our horticultural program. The floor is yours, so to speak.
Good evening, we're excited to share what's ahead for our Skills USA chapter this school year. We have a full calendar of events and events and fundraising planned to help support our students as they prepare to attend regional, state, and national Skills USA competitions and meetings. Our goal is to ensure every student has the opportunity to participate regardless of financial barriers. This year's fundraising efforts will include a Halloween themed movie drive-in, our annual breakfast with Santa, and a bigger and better Flex Truck experience. These events not only raise essential funds, but also build community engagement in school spirit. We are currently accepting applications for chapter officer positions and are seeing great interest from students who are eager to take on leadership roles. With strong participation and continued support from our school and community, we're looking forward to a successful year full of growth, learning, and building the next generation of skilled professionals. We're proud to say this will be a year full of champions. And for FFA and horticulture, our South Shore FFA nursery landscape and floriculture teams recently competed at Eastern Regional CBE competitions at the Big E in Springfield with outstanding results. For floriculture at CBE, first place individual went to Tommy Guy. Fifth place individual was tied with Justin McCann, Ryan Holmes, and Mike Sorrentino. For the floral arrangements, Mike Sorrentino got first place individual out of 27 competitors. Nursery landscape CBE, first place went to Logan Pearl for the individual and Jacob Franciscini for second place individual. Paul Anderson got third place and Jacob Phelps got fourth. These excellent results qualify our teams to compete at the FFA National Convention in Indianapolis next month. Finally, the South Shore FFA Fall Plant Sale will be held this Saturday, September 20th, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the school. All proceeds support the FFA chaplain program. And with a beautiful forecast, it's a perfect opportunity to stop by and pick up some fall color for your garden. For athletics, boys soccer has opened the season and started 3-1 with big wins over Avon, Honey Girls, and Sturgis East. Volleyball has started the season with a 5-1 with marquee wins versus Boston, Abington versus Slag. Sorry about that. Girls soccer opened the season with a big win versus Avon by a score of 3-0. And for the National Honor Society, they're planning the trunk or treat event on October 26th. It is to be held in the back parking lot of the school. Firms are reaching out to community organizations and shops to coordinate participating trunks and other offerings at the event, such as face painting, a touch a trunk, snack table, and many more. Meanwhile, a list of potential inductees for the juniors is being generated by admin guidance based on GPA, after which we'll invite eligible students to apply. And for the student council, this year the student council is teaming up with the athletic department to bring you a truly sports-themed homecoming experience. We're planning a full homecoming week from September 22nd through the 26th, featuring a spirit week with sports themed apparel days, showing favorite team gear, rep SST pride, and join in fun all week long. On Friday, September 26th, we'll wrap up the week with a high energy pep rally to get everyone hyped for the football game that night. Then finish the celebration off with the homecoming dance on Saturday, September 27th. Homecoming may be earlier than usual this year, but the student council is working hard to make sure this week is packed with energy, pride, and Viking spirit. For the GSA, is holding its first meeting this week, during which students will establish a meeting calendar and discuss the goals for the club this year. We're hoping to encourage new faces to join from every grade level and have a more visible presence in the school community, promoting safety and respect on the campus. The drama club will be holding rehearsals for their production of the comedy I Hate Shakespeare, due to be performed for 2 weeks in March. Thank you. Thank you for your patience as well.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Good job.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
No more. No.
All right.
Good job, just have to get that Abington lots up.
Oh, yes, I know.
That means it's good. Did a good job. No question.
Sandy.
Well, he's trying to show, I just have to add, not as a question, but more as a comment from Lucas, that what we're really learning on our end is his important role with this organization. The expectation that he represents not just the sharing of information about what's happening on campus with all of you, but that he really listens to what's happening on our campus and shares suggestions and advises this organization. As you can hear from the vibrancy of what's already happening as of September 17th, and what's expected from our remaining senior class of student leaders across the grade levels, that they really are attuned to what's happening on our campus. And I expect that Luke will be an excellent representation of what their needs are as well. And I encourage you to present, obviously, all of the wonderful things that are happening, but when you hear concern after you read it through, Mr. Boyle, that you should bring those here as well.
Of course. Yep, very good. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lex.
Oh, and we brought presents.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
for us?
Yeah. Wait, when you start, you finish, your role, you get gifts, and so when you start with a sweatshirt, thank you, Mr. Boyle, and it's always handed. This is for you.
You'll need both as it gets colder.
Yes, yes, true. And I get my own name tag too.
Yes.
I get to check that when you're at the end of the year.
Okay.
For your home desk.
Thank you.
Show it to your boss.
I mean, you can't quit now. That's it.
That's
You're in.
true, that's true.
Yeah. You're
Yes,
here.
it's right here.
Yeah, that's right.
But you never know what can happen. You mentioned Stockbridge, if you go there, you like it, there's some places that you want to jump on, there's an internship and stuff. They automatically hire.
Really
And yeah, Stockbridge, let's see, no, next.
awesome. That's a great opportunity.
Yeah, it's.
Well, as we said, let's get to our favorite thing. So you are welcome to stay, but we all actually often encourage students to stay if they're interested in listening to the whole meeting. But also, you know, as your gift progresses, as you have homework, you find yourself working.
I'd like to listen.
You're welcome.
Okay.
You're
Sit
welcome.
down.
Who knows, he may be a future member.
All right.
You know?
All right, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Move over Ivan.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is approval of the minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve minutes from July 23rd, 2025. So moved. Second. Whitman and Hanover. Any discussion? Okay, I'll call roll. Abington.
Yes.
O'Hafford.
Yes.
No. Yes. Hanson.
Yes.
No. Yes. Rock. Shane. Shane. Oh, Yancey. Leader. Situate, yes. And Whitman. Yes. 8-4 and 1 abstention. Okay, now we'll recognize Jim and after, well, give his treasury report first.
Yeah, I'll talk numbers, then we can.
We'll do it. Prove it first, then we can do it.
Yes, in your package, you have the monthly treasurer's report. On the cover, culinary was great, because they posted pictures on Facebook right as the school started, so I was able to grab those and put them on, they make them cookies or pastries of some sort, so they're obviously busy over there. So, page 1 is the cash balances, a little over $5 million, based on all the accounts at the end of August. Revenue, we did our first round of billing for our, for this year. August 1st, we received about $2.1 million from our, through the first 2 months. This year, we got our 2 payments already from chapter 70, so overall revenue for the month, for the 2 months is, a little over $3.1 million. Page 3 is the expenditures for the month overall. Expenditures for the 2 months are $2.7 million. Good chunk of that obviously is payroll. And then we go down, we make the county retirement payment of $600,000. To start the year, we also make payments of all the insurances at the start of the year. And then other ways down online, currently on health insurance for a couple months. So overall, it's, we get a lot of stuff out of the way the first couple months with all the dues and registrations for the coming school year. There's a influx, a little bit of some supplies, but not, this September, October, when ordering a lot of their supplies based upon what they're gonna need for them. So that's $2.7 million was spent during the course of the first 2 months. That's it.
Okay, in motion to approve the minutes as presented by the chair. So moved. Yes. Roll, Abington,
Yes.
go ahead.
Cohasset, yes.
Hill, here. Hanson,
Yes.
Markfield. Noel,
Yes.
Rockland.
Yes.
Situate, yes. Whitney. Yes. Motion carries unanimously. Anything else under update, Jim?
No, just working on the September 30th testing report that needs to be submitted. The girls in the office doing a great job. I know that Tom's gonna go over the budget timeline and let Pam, Janine are always supporting Tom with the budgeted numbers as far as what's looking forward. And internally, we're looking at upgrading and making our internal school software that we use for all the accounting functions a little bit more efficient. So, yeah, we're constantly learning new things back there. So.
Okay. I'll turn it over to the superintendent. Dr. Hickey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Very briefly, I'll have a few other items later on in the agenda. Document 3 in your packet is the annual budget timeline. It is largely the same as what you have seen from me in the past. We started working on this, we're working on this now on the salary side and some higher level review. In October, the cost center supervisors and departments get to work. It will eventually culminate with an initial budget presentation for me in December. And we will anxiously await the governor's budget, which comes out on the last Wednesday, the fourth Wednesday of January, which is why in our calendar of meetings, we have been bumping the January meeting to the last or fourth Wednesday so that it coincides. This allows us to have a meeting where we can pick up the conversation, say, that budget that we were talking about, now we have some minimum local contribution numbers. We can now give each town a sense of where the cost is gonna be. And that leads to typically a February school committee meeting where we have a public hearing and a budget certification. At the end of the timeline, the one thing that I'll note is that, Abington has moved its town meeting. The first Monday of May was so popular that it decided to join almost every other town, so we now have one extra town that I think so. So that's a busy Monday in May. That said, we have to certify a budget 45 days prior to the earliest town meeting, which is currently penciled in as Situate on April 13th. So there's the budget timeline, certainly more to say as we move and we prepare for fiscal 27. We have 2 more fiscal years budgets before, if you will, the new building. And so.
So does that mean you'll be getting a lot more emails in past it?
Yes, I've got the cardboard cutouts being made right now, but we'll all be well prepared so that we can all certainly represent. I do have this addressed later in the agenda, but well, it's not in any detail, but if things progress with Pembroke, the spring town meetings in all of your towns will once again be, we're there for the budget. And we're probably there to also talk about a warrant article amending our regional agreement. And we've been in front of our towns now twice for changing our debt share calculation and admitting Marshall. So it's not our first rodeo on that, but it will, so that will be a busy time. Anyway, that's document 3. That also leads into the list of committee updates, which I've already addressed in document 4. And then just a brief update, I supplied you in my memo, just a chart that shows a very robust application pool. And we have a freshman class that at the time of this memo was 187. It's likely to be 190 within the next few days, as Amy Dow, our guidance and admissions director, was filling some spots that just recently opened up. Typically, in the first few weeks, we see some students say that this isn't the right fit, and it's good for them that they draw those conclusions earlier for their high school transition. But we have waiting lists, and those seats are being filled. So more to be said on that. Mr. Chair, I'll turn it over to Sandy and Keith for their reports.
Great. Good evening. I'll get it started as I'm going to start with some welcomes. We welcome new instructional staff. In long-term sub positions, we have Joyce Fallon on our math department and Maureen Malone and special ed math educator. And welcome back Mark Fitzpatrick, more formally from our CTI program, and now is a vocational aid course in our predominantly in our HVAC program. We welcome back 2 alumni to full-time positions. We are happy to have Liz Troll, alumni, back to the DVC program as an instructor. She returns with a BFA in graphic design and a minor in art history, with professional experience, most recently in Scratch, marketing, and media. And Zachariah Ragazio in HVAC is also an SSC alum with over half-decade experience at Anderson Fuel and 2 seasons with Sasha Tech's SSTI program. So we're excited about that. And then the administrator front, we have a new assistant principal and director of personal instruction, Emily Burns, who comes from us via Blue Hills as the lead guidance counselor, who has expertise in count and scheduling, AP program management, and dual enrollment, among other things. She is a well-educated dynamic addition who's already finding sure footing in South Shore Tech's administrative team. We are happy to have her. In terms of topics, I have the biggest new for the 2025 school year in our footprint is that we moved to a 5-block day from a 4-block study hall day, and we now have a rotating schedule. It was a lot of work to put that schedule together for teachers, administrators, and counselors over the summer. From last spring through now, has been a lot of work to make adjustments for lunch schedules, teacher schedules, vocational schedules, lots of schedules. There's a lot of work, but it is a success. The students are very comfortable with it within their first cycle. Teachers are growing in their comfort with it, and we are able to offer more courses necessary to students' overall health and development, including PE more regularly, health and wellness to 9th and 10th graders who must have it as part of their regular schedule. We've always sort of found a place for it. Now it has a home. We offer standalone success seminars for our underclassmen to learn study habits and the essentials of being a student in high school and making their way as adults in the world. And we are able to have academic strategies courses that are necessary for some students within our daily schedule. We also have the opportunity to take a science class that was once sort of relegated as a related course and wrap it into our schedule that all students now have access to the biotech curriculum. So we are satisfied with what we've done this year and look forward to what growth opportunities we have and adjusting opportunities we have moving forward into the next school year. So we're excited about that. So that is it for me today. And I have passed it over first for the thing.
Yeah. You wasn't 4 or 5.
Yes,
That is the option. What classes?
correct.
That's
That's a very good summary. Perfect. It's crazy, I like that.
I mentioned this to you before, but just for the record, how everything's going with the cell phones.
So that's our transition, that's perfect, actually. So I'm gonna compliment Keith on his excellent planning and advanced work that happened last school year to educate teachers, students, and staff members for the changes that were coming. And so thank you, Keith, and I'll pass it over to you to talk a little bit about where we're at.
Sure, thank you. Good evening, everyone. So an update regarding our new cell phone procedure that we have rolled out. As you know, it was approved last year in the summer for the handbook changes for this school year. As we are now 16 days in the school year, I'm happy to say we have only had 8 infractions so far to date. Of those 8, they have all been first time infractions, so we have had no second time infractions thus far. During those first time infractions, the teacher or the paraprofessional confiscated the student's cell phone, brought it up to the main office, where the cell phone was then kept in the main office until 2:30, after the dismissal bell, where the student retrieved the phone. The students were cooperative, the students were polite about it, and most of the feedback we've heard back across the board from teachers, parents, and students has been positive. So definitely congratulations and thank you to all people involved. But it's been very successful so far, and we hope to see that continue over the days of the year.
Dave, you mentioned the new assistant principal at AP.
Yes, 80 credits from her.
Correct, will we be able to offer that maybe at some point in time?
We do offer AP, computer science right now, and we could potentially offer it within our routine schedule if we have the right audience of students.
Thank you, just.
The other update, I just want to give an update on some grants. We have officially started our round 10 CPI grant, which is the grant that we got late last year. The fall cohort is officially up and running. We started September 8th, and the cohort runs Monday through Thursday from 4 to 8 p.m. We are running cohorts in programs in automotive, culinary arts, HVAC, metal fabrication, welding, and our manufacturing engineering technology program. We currently have 80 plus students enrolled in the program, and we have a couple extra seats. We're hoping to get up to 92 students total. So that's been very successful over the past week and a half since they launched. Also excited to talk about the new opportunity that we are currently in the process of applying for a newly released CTE facility expansion grant. This is a grant that's put out by the state, and it's a 2.5-year grant period. The application is due at the end of October, and it's a grant that's going to be awarded between $2 and $5 million. So we are working administratively with teachers, and we're working with some of the architects on the project to see how we can implement and apply for this grant to kind of bring down the cost of the overall construction and or equipment requests that we'll receive. So it's exciting. We're also being told there's a few more grants that will be put out by the state in the upcoming month or two, so we will certainly be active and apply for anything we're possibly able to.
Mr. Chair, we'll be bringing more information on that grant to the committee next month, as well as some info on a clean energy grant that we're also able to expand on. So you'll get regular updates from us on grant opportunities. Great work.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, I could just, the next item under old business.
Yeah.
Thank you. It says discuss vote regional agreement amendments. The chair adjusted the agenda because at the very least I wanted to mention, I don't have an update for you. We are waiting to hear back from a couple of parties, folks in Pembroke as well as from the department. I do believe we're wrapping up the language. I've sent you all some drafts and whatnot, but no new update at this point. Pembroke has scheduled, for other reasons, and it's not just exclusive to this topic, they have a fall town meeting scheduled for October 21st. And so what I may be asking of you members of the committee would be on a few days' notice for your availability on a Zoom to go over just this sole item. That if I can bring back to you a draft regional agreement with no major changes from what I previously sent you, that has been reviewed by the Department of Education, and that has been reviewed by our own council. And I would not bring anything to you that hasn't met those standards. If we can do so and meet Pembroke's deadline of wanting to publish for the purposes of their warrant by the end of September, that's great. But it will have to follow that sequence in order for us to meet those expectations.
On that September meeting, that is town meeting to either say yes or no to join.
That's right, Dan. So as far as Pembroke is concerned, if this were to go to plan, the first question they'd ask their voters is, do we adopt the terms and conditions of this regional agreement? The document that goes in front of Pembroke in October of 2025 is the exact same document that would go to all of our towns in the spring of 26. So this thing takes a nap for several months. And then in the spring, there is the question of, will at least 6 of our 9 existing communities also agree to the changes? And then in addition to that, Pembroke then has 2 other thresholds. One is their admission would be conditioned on, will the voters in Pembroke pass a Proposition 2.5 operational override to adjust for the cost of sending kids here? And will they also approve a debt exclusion? So if you will, there are really 3 questions Pembroke voters have to answer. They'll answer one in the fall. That's the canary in the coal mine. If for some reason that wasn't approved, we don't talk, we're told. If they do approve it, then it becomes a matter for the spring, for the existing towns. And probably somewhere in that madness of the spring of 2020, in May of 26 includes whenever they would schedule their ballot questions. Typically a couple weeks after the spring town meeting.
When are they gonna have a meeting on whether or not they wanna join us in?
October 21st, I'm told, is the date of their fall town meeting. Yes, exactly. So
Alright, so the after,
a month away. Yeah, so we have a compressed, we're trying to see if we can get the language finalized in the next few weeks.
Right.
It goes to Pembroke first. If they vote by a simple majority at that town meeting to adopt the terms, then the process continues. Nothing will happen until April 13th in Situate, May something almost everywhere else, March maybe. And so we would know by, let's say, the end of the first week of May, if the towns have adopted the regional agreement. And then the last part is, will Pembroke voters approve 2 tax increase questions, temporary tax increase for the debt exclusion on the construction, and a permanent tax increase, operational override for the operating expenses. That's the thought process anyway, so. I'll update you when
My
you know more.
understanding would be, once it goes to our towns, it's just like our budget, 6 out of 10 will be.
That's right, it's Pembroke plus at least 6 out of 9, exactly, that's right. Same exact process as with mine. So
Just a comment. As the past weekend has shown, certain towns vote things down and then vote back in. If we were to, maybe I'm getting out of it, if we were to get our 6 towns from the committee to pass it, but say Pembroke were to fail on one of those 3, one of the 2 remaining criteria, assuming that everything passed on the 26th, would we have to change anything if they decided, hey, we want to try this again at a different time? Would we as a committee have to change anything, or would it just be, since we'd already approved it at our town level, that we just go with it the way it is?
I wouldn't feel confident answering that. I'd like to believe that if we don't change a comma in that document, that it might stand. But I could also understand if legally someone said, you should ask your school committee to re-vote it unless in case something has changed. But what we have done, and this was something, a point of emphasis for me saying to Pembroke, saying, you also need to ask your, and they're on the ball, make sure you ask your council, because the law around bringing in a new community is clear. We're following that. The fact that the new community wants to put conditions on it, I said legally, that's not my wheelhouse, but can that actually stop? What if all the towns voted, but the debt exclusion fails? I just don't want there to be any gray areas to whether Pembroke is now a member of the district or not. It wouldn't be good for them. It wouldn't be good for our district. So I would say, and so what we did was we wrote into this draft agreement these conditions. So it's almost like this district is saying, no, we agree that this draft turns into a pumpkin if those tax increase questions fail. But I think it's a clever question regarding what if it did fail, but they wanted to re-up, do we have to do this all again?
Yeah,
Or would that prior vote still?
Well, that's my only concern is, again if they were to decide that it failed at the May meeting, but they wanted to have a special town meeting again in, like, say, September or October.
Yeah.
Not all of us, not all of our towns are necessarily going to meet prior to that, so would we be back in the same position we are right now? Or would our original votes from May carry over? It is kind of a long, like, looking at it from a long perspective, but it's just kind of one of those things that, you know.
I would offer this, Dustin, the Commissioner of Education has until the end of calendar year 26. He's the last stop on the train. He ultimately signs off after all the town meetings and all the votes. If Pembroke, in your scenario, if that follow-up happened quickly, I think maybe there's a path forward. But the minute it goes beyond that timeline, then all the dates change. Here in the district, your second year, we would have to I would suggest, we would mechanically have to revisit everything and change the numbers and revote it all.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that.
You have a question, Tom?
Okay, you got a question?
Nope.
Process. Is it a town vote? Is it a town vote at? On the same day, like you voted for school committee, or how does it?
Sure, it's just a town, it's a warrant article at the town meeting. So when Marshfield joined, it was a warrant article in Marshfield with the regional agreement as the body of the article. And it was the same question. So there are the only ballot questions involved are in Pembroke for the money.
Well, there's also a couple questions for that. So everyone's not at the town on the same day.
Correct.
And so it's possible that towns and couple of towns, hopefully we will move to the time.
Yes, as would happen with. That's right, exactly correct.
You could be wording it. Contingent.
That's an excellent question. The advice that has been given is that if our regional school committee votes to move this forward, we would also put forward the recommended warrant article language. And it has been recommended legally that not only should those conditions be written into the regional agreement, but they should also be written into the warrant article. We want to make this as easy to digest for residents in our communities. They don't need a decoder ring, they don't need 7 PDFs, but if I read the warrant article and it says conditioned upon, and it also says it in the regional agreement, the only way this regional agreement has life is if all those conditions are met. But it has been recommended that it should exist in both places. But yeah, that's great, a very good point, I think. Yeah. So thank you all for those questions. And again, thank you for your flexibility if I need to call upon you for a follow-up meeting. And Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, I can continue. Thank you. Under new business item 1, admission policy revision, first reading. Members of the committee, I do have a presentation. What would be your pleasure? I could go through these slides if you feel comfortable. This is a first reading. There is no vote on this tonight. I could proceed. I could say you've been informed, and I could leave it to the next month when I ask you for a vote. It's entirely your call, Mr. Chair. Continue with go through the slides?
Yeah.
Okay. Crystal, I'll move it, like when I listen to that audiobook and I'm at 1.3%, 1.3 speed, here we go. The Board of Ed said you need to use a lottery when there are more applicant seats. We know this. How is each town gonna get the seats? We're not changing a thing. It's based on your 8th grade population. If there are leftover seats, they'll get reapportioned. There's not gonna be a lottery in every town unless there are more applicants than seats. What's gonna change? We no longer grade or score anything. Each applicant can earn a series of extra weights in the lottery for interest, attendance, and discipline. The standard to earn these weights is relatively low, so it's likely that nearly all the applicants will receive all of the weights. Put another way, most applicants will probably earn 4 tickets, that in air quotes, or 4 weights, which I'll use another slide. What does this do on our timelines? The state regulations now say we can open our application anytime, but we have to open it by November first. And we're allowed to close the application window anytime from January to March first. The recommendation is going to be that we open the application just before our open house, which is October 27th. We'll open it on October 25th. We'll open the application on October 20th, and we'll close the application on January 16th. We don't really close the application. Kids can always apply, but the regulations call for a late application pool. We will do the best we can with our sending middle schools to make sure that folks clearly understand. It's not an in-depth application. They've got to get it in by that January deadline to be considered, especially in an oversubscribed community. We're going to be asking families to provide proof of residency as part of the application. If technology gets in the way, then we'll probably rely on town clerks or the sending schools to verify residency, and then when we have a question. But we want to ensure that the residency of the child matches the town that's ultimately being assessed for that child. Thank you, Crystal. So the priority order of admissions, you live in the district and you applied on time. You're going to be entered into the lottery, this high profile lottery that will probably run on YouTube, and everybody will have an ID number and you'll see the numbers populate like Keno, except there'll be more numbers. The next bucket will be, you're from a member town, but maybe you applied late. That's okay. We will consider those applications after we have offered admission to every kid from your town who's applied on time. So that's still an opportunity. And the third bullet, students from non-member towns. This will not happen in grade 9. And it will very likely not happen in the older grades as well. There would have to be a all planets aligning situation where you might have a rising junior from Hingham who would want a shop where there might be a slot in the rising junior class. This isn't us, that's regulation. So the regulation saying on-time kids, lottery, late application as needed, and then you can do non-resident kids with this space.
Somebody moves to the district after this information.
Yeah, we've put in an entire section to cover for all of those contingencies so that there's no confusion. No one goes into the lottery until we validate their residency. If someone moves after the lottery, we have language in the policy that spells that out. We want to make it abundantly clear that that's going to be the one lift for us. We published a lottery date. We want to make sure that we have all of our ducks in a row.
Tom, what happens if somebody's in the tent, right?
Yep.
And they move out of the district? Are they?
So if they're already a student, Dan, or?
Yeah, they're already in they're in the 11th grade.
Yep, that happens. And there are two answers. One is, did they move to a town that has a regional voc school? If they did, sometimes the answer is they transfer to the other vocational school. If they move to a town that doesn't have a regional voc there, then they would become a non-resident student. They are entitled to stay, and the non-resident community pays us tuition. Yeah, and that happens, that can certainly happen.
I just want to make sure nothing changes.
Yeah, there are a lot of changes. There are a few things that are the same. The regulations allow us to count awareness as a criterion. I'm not recommending this. Awareness is merely that the student has attended an open house or watched a video or maybe done something online. I think it's an administrative burden, and quite honestly, I can't imagine somebody not getting this weight or this credit. So if you apply and you fill out the application completely, you are in the lottery. That's one entry. If you did nothing else, you'd have one entry. Some schools may require this. I'd evaluate this after a year, but again, I'm also looking to manage the administrative burden of, I could imagine getting an appeal where we tell Mrs. Jones, your child's not in the lottery because they didn't demonstrate awareness, because they didn't attend the open house. And then they say, but we did attend the open house. We came in that door where you didn't have the sign-in table. I'm gonna tend to lean on the side of, okay, you're in. So I don't consider this to be a very high standard. And therefore it's not going to be one of the four potential criteria to recommend.
And Tom, if, say, Heck Whitman, say they have X amount of students, and you're allowing 20 for the new year.
Yep.
Say that.
That's their apportionment
Maybe
basically.
20 for the new year.
Yeah.
And they're all at 20, and we have a few more to go by law. Say one of the kids that is in and they spend a month in school, 2 months in school, and they turn around and say, nah, I don't wanna go back to.
Yep.
Urban Hanson,
Yes.
right? Not for me. Does that position open up to a Whitman?
Does a Whitman student replace the vacant Whitman spot? Yes. Whitman had 72 kids apply for this freshman class. Let's pretend that happened. Let's say 72 Whitman kids apply on time. They're all prompt, great. We run the we're gonna run the Whitman lottery. You're watching from home on YouTube. Here we go. We're gonna pull all 72 names, not their actual name, but an ID number.
Yeah.
Crystal's the brain trust behind working with us. We're already working really hard on making this a smooth
They
reality.
have to fit a criteria as far absenteeism.
That's what I'll address right here, Dan.
Yeah.
But if you apply, you get at least one entry. So everyone who applies will get an entry. All 72 names of the on-time kiddos, they're gonna get drawn. 1 to 72. If Whitman has 20 seats, the first 20 kids are gonna hit a button, they're gonna get an email saying, congratulations, you've been offered admission. And then we give them 5 days, this shows up later, I'll skip this in the presentation. Then there's a 5-day, you got 5 days to tell us. If you don't say yes, after 5 days, you're removed from the list. We take the 21st kid, the first kid on the waiting list is immediately, so Whitman replaces Whitman. Hanover replaces Hanover. Now, if we run out of kids on a waiting list, then we can still reapportion seats. But I'm midway in the weeds on this already, but there is that idea of we are apportioning. If all of a sudden some kids bail from my town, I wanna know that if there's a waiting list from my town, that we're gonna fill it with those same zip code kids, and the answer is yes. So, Crystal.
I believe this question was if the student started at the school a month into the school year, leaves. Will Whitman, is that what you asked? Yeah. Will we say that for a month after, so in October?
If there's a Whitman waiting list, the way the policy is written is before there would be a Whitman opening, we need to know where the kid moved. Did the kid move out of district? Did the kid move to another town? So hypothetically, let's take that story. A kid from Whitman moves and moves to Rockland. Rockland is another oversubscribed community. At that moment, if there's no spot in the Rockland column to move that kid, we couldn't open that seat until that happens.
Wow.
Yeah, so we've tried to cover for every possible scenario that makes, it doesn't make for great reading, but it does give us a roadmap on how to apportion this precious resource fairly. The next few slides summarize the ways. You will get an extra ticket if you have fewer than 27 unexcused absences in the 270 days before you apply. Thank you, Crystal. You will get an extra ticket for the discipline category, if you have not admitted guilt of a felony or been found guilty in the 270 days before you apply for bringing weapons to school or school grounds or assaulted an educational staff member. And you will earn an extra weight by demonstrating your interest in vocational education. This is great. This is going to be fun to see, but there's no scoring involved. So it is something I would like to think down the road, we'll be able to work with stakeholders and maybe adjust these regulations. So students don't have to do this. They simply wouldn't earn this extra ticket. But I would expect that if a kid applies to come here and they know they've got an optional chance to show their interest, they might write an essay.
See, before I went to high school, I submitted that I worked with my uncle for 3 years. Would that count?
Yes. To be honest with you, Jack, I don't think, unless someone submitted an essay that said, I don't wanna come to your stupid school. I can't think of a reason why we would not be awarded, hey, if it was a complete sentence that started with a capital letter and ended in the period, you know, that's good. But in all seriousness, we're actually, Crystal had a great idea, which is building into the application a writing prompt. So that it's not about the, do I have to upload a separate document? We don't wanna overcomplicate this for families. So we can say on the application, these fields are required, name, address, etc. This is optional. You don't have to do this. If you wanna roll the dice and have 3 entries, great. But if you want this other weight, then you can complete this. So some sort of a prompt that says, express, your interest in voc ed, they could take care of that right then and there. Yeah, so thank you for that. Bob?
Just to throw a little wrench into this, what if somebody, that teaches here, works here, and their son or daughter apply? Do they still go through the same procedure?
Yes.
Or do they get that parent?
No.
School parent?
Massachusetts charter schools do have preferences for siblings.
Yes.
And I'm not sure if they have a staff preference. I know that in sometimes in K-12 districts, there might be collective bargaining agreements where the child of a teacher can come in and enroll in the school.
Yeah.
That is not an option here, so. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Process and weight summary, so we'll let families know before this lottery. Mrs. Jones, thanks for applying. Your son is going to get 3 out of the 4 tickets in the lottery. That's gonna give the family an opportunity to say, where did they lose that ticket? So any appeals that happen, because how do you remedy an appeal after the lottery's been drawn? So we need to remedy those things up front, and that's all written in the policy. We're gonna let families know. I think most families are gonna get 4 tickets out of 4, unless the family opts to not do that, that interest component.
Just because it happens to be in the past, Rockland, when a student was had medical issues, and you go to the doctors so many times over the course of 2 years. Rockland just had him down as absent, not as an excused medical.
Yes.
And he had to get to show our guidance, that he had these appointments and it was an excused medical thing. It wasn't just out of school to get him, and it changed his scoring from here to here. He was able to get in.
And so Bob, that challenge might still exist, but there are 2 ways we're gonna try to help that family. The first is just general education, letting them know that there is an extra ticket to either be gained or lost. So if you had a child that had medical issues, and if these kids are applying in the fall of 8th grade, we can go back 207 days. So I think the message is, if you've had a kid with some, if you know your kid hasn't been out 27 times, then you can lay your head on the pillow and not worry. But if you did have an extensive medical situation and you are concerned that it would be documented, the first thing that we're gonna do when the kid applies, we're gonna go to the sending school and say, we need you to sign off, do these kids have under or over 27? If there's an over 27, they're not gonna get that extra ticket, but we're gonna tell the family. And that gives the family the opportunity. What I think we're gonna do is, we're just gonna make sure, because once we draw that lottery, there is no way of saying, what do you do with that? What do you do now? Did my kid not get chosen because we were missing that? There's no way of being able to say, I bought 5 Powerball tickets, you bought 1, you won, that's not, there's no way of fixing it after the fact. So we definitely want to account for that and raise family awareness. Yeah, so that's certainly what administration will be working on, to make sure that when we're publishing the date of the lottery, we've done all this legwork and give the families a fair shot to clarify.
Just throw it up there so I have my answers.
Yep, understood.
So someone has 4 tickets, someone has 3, someone has 2.
Yep.
It's just the only thing is, if you have 4, you have that much more of a chance of it. Other than somebody that has 2 or 3.
Statistically, yes.
And how do they pick up? With the name in the jar?
We're going to use a random number generator. We're going to publish the date and time and of the lottery. So maybe we'll do all the lotteries on the same day. Maybe there'll be the Abington lottery, there'll be the Whitman lottery, there'll be
all go down.
And you'll just see the numbers pop up on the screen. And then it's a matter of, it's like looking at the raffle board at the end of the charity night where you're like, oh, did I win the gift basket? That's what it's gonna be, but we're gonna publish all of them. We're gonna publish all of them. Thank you for this slide here, I covered. A quick mention about Dan asked about the older kids earlier. This is just another comment. What about grade 10 and above? We don't apportion seats, correct? We're gonna have kids apply. We're gonna sort them by town, and we're gonna sort them by program of interest. So you're a rising sophomore and you want to apply. Well, we're gonna ask you what programs are you interested in? And then we'll determine based on the number of applicants and the number of open seats. So we will probably have to run periodic lotteries, but it's not gonna be like a 9th grade lottery. So if we have, this sounds silly, but I'll just say it this way. If we have 3 applicants for 1 open seat in automotive, it's not town specific. I shouldn't have said sorted by town. It's sorted by program. So if 3 kids, regardless of their town, want to go into sophomore automotive, there's only 1 open seat. We're gonna send an email to those 3 families saying, all right, we're gonna have a lottery for the opening, for that open seat. Here we go. And
My son, he was into architecture, right? Drafting. That's not what we really wanted, but that was the only open seat close to what he was looking for.
so we try to account for
Right, so we draft.
if there, we don't need to do a lottery if there are fewer applicants than seats. Paper applications, if there's a technology issue, we'll have language assistance. If families are experiencing homelessness, that is not held against the student. Their last known residence is what would be used. That's the standard. We'll let families know that, have we all done this? I swear I hit submit, or I swear I sent that email and it's in my drafts folder, right? So we're gonna make sure that families know what it means to say, we know you started an application, or are you finished? That's gonna be one area where I really don't want any family saying, I thought we finished this and now we didn't make it in the lottery. So we'll have safeguards there. There's that appeals process I talked about. This next bullet down, parent access to information throughout the process. Ideally, we're gonna bring you a model in a year's time that will be a separate software platform, which parents will be able to log in and monitor. For this first year, we're gonna transition into something that will use Google Forms and some other platforms. I mentioned about when the lottery is gonna be held, and it'll be on time. Now, if you apply late, I won't get into the weeds on that, but late applicants, we have to allow kids to keep applying.
Right.
So if you're in the late application pool, we're only pulling out enough names as there are spaces, because we have to allow other kids to apply. Yeah, they might be. The fall of 25 is the same as you're all used to. The third dash down says improved access. All of our member communities will be working with us to allow for presentations and tours. That is an improvement in everything else I've talked about with these regulations. We'll take action on this policy at our October meeting. We have to submit the policy by November 1st. And again, we go into the winter and spring with the lotteries and whatnot. So more to be said on this.
Tom, is there any way that can this get turned away? Is there any way, can this get just like, hey, it's not worth it?
No, not without changes.
100%.
There are 2 options. One is the legislature could take up that task force bill that Rep. Frank Moran from Lawrence had put in, which did not get put in the conference committee budget. That is still a filed bill. And that bill, if it were passed, would give the legislature a bit more of it would allow the legislature to kind of override this. The most likely outcome is that perhaps with a new commissioner of education, we now have a new commissioner of education. And perhaps we could take a look at some regulatory changes, but the heart of what you are talking about is unlikely to change unless it changes at the board there. So we will implement these regulations with fidelity, but the bubble thoughts above my head are different.
We talk a lot. So I just want to make clear, maybe everybody else. So this, the kids that are coming, who are here now, they were the old way, the good way. Alright. So now the kids that are gonna come next year.
The eighth graders today.
The eighth graders today, they will be admitted via the lottery vote that we're gonna take next month. Based on the presentation. Yes. And we're gonna send those kids to a school that's gonna be torn apart because we're building a new one. Massachusetts, that's really great this time.
It's gonna be very difficult. We've already started to hear from families who pay attention to us, who have known the ropes. And now they're realizing they have very little control over their child's future. And for middle school professionals in our sending schools, it's also very difficult. Because we can certainly say factually that attendance and discipline and interest do matter. But if eventually, if I come back to you in a year and say 99.8% of the applicants got all 4 weights, this is not a weighted line. There is no way of delineating.
Unfortunately, the discipline fact that it's a felony within the course of 2 years, again, I don't wanna generalize, but for the most part, our 9-member towns don't necessarily have a lot of 8th grade felons running.
We know you're right, Dustin, and the data that we've seen in recent years would say, we've not seen attendance records of 27 unexcused. I mean, to get an absence excused, there can be limits. There are some families that you can't take the day off to go get the note. That's absolutely true. But if our data were to hold for the same kiddos that are gonna apply in the future, it's highly, highly unlikely that we would see 27 unexcused absences. And just to be clear, from the minute you apply, nothing after that application date is considered. So it's only a look back, and that's not us, that's the regulation. So a student who applies on January 15th, we would look back 270 days from the day before their closes. But the kid who applies the day we open the application, they're frozen in time. So that's been raised as kind of an interesting question. Like, why don't you just let us go back to the start of 7th grade regardless of when the kid applies? So I think there's some work to be done. We're not gonna solve that tonight, or that is going on the list. Things that we could perhaps fix with. So, Mr. Chair, I promise, I'm not gonna say a darn thing about this policy next month. I hope I covered it enough to balance out the time.
Everybody's still waiting. Next thing is the business manager job description.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I sent you a job description for this position, which we are able to fund from the TTI grant that we were recently awarded, and would ask for your approval for the job description.
Ask for motion to approve the business manager job description.
Motion.
Marshfield. Okay, Abington,
Yes.
Cohasset,
Cohasset, yes.
Hanover? Yes.
Yes.
Marshfield?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Rockland? Yep. Situate, yes. Whitman? Yes.
Yes.
Was unanimous.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, change the date of graduation. Next item is a change of date for the Wednesday, June 3rd, 2026 at the South Shore Music Circus. I would ask for a motion to approve this change.
Motion.
Second.
Rockland and Woodman. Abington,
Yes.
Cohasset,
Cohasset, yes.
Hanover. Yes. Hanson,
Yes.
Marshfield,
Yes.
Noel,
Yes.
Rockland. Yes. Situate, yes. Whitman.
Yes.
That is unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay, that's for, we got the next item is donation to our MET program. I'd ask for a motion to accept this donation. So moved. And, we have a second?
Second.
Second, no.
Abington,
Yes.
Cohasset,
Cohasset, yes.
guess he's not sure. Cohasset.
Yes.
Hanover, yes. Hanson,
Yes.
Marshfield,
Yes.
Norwell,
Yes.
Rockland, yes. Situate, yes. Whitman,
Yes.
the vote is unanimous.
Sorry, George.
Okay, next item is the surplus of two vans. I'd ask for a motion to accept this surplus request. So, Whitman, Hanover. Abington,
Yes.
Cohasset,
Yes.
Hanover. Yes. Hanson,
Yes.
Marshfield,
Yes.
Norwell,
Yes.
Rockland,
Yes.
Situate, yes, Whitman.
Yes.
Vote is unanimous.
I have a question. Any other surplus equipment that went up in this late spring, did any of that get purchased?
Yes. Some of it.
Just curious if there was an updated list of what they didn't.
Okay, any request for action? Seeing none, I accept the motion to adjourn the school committee meeting.
So moved, with all due respect.
Second. Hanover. Abington,
Yes.
Cohasset,
Yes.
Hanover. Yeah. Hanson,
Yes.
Marshfield. Yes. Norwell,
Yes.
Rockland,
Yes.
Situate, yes, Whitman.
Yes.
Meeting is adjourned.